The plains stretched wide and unforgiving, a sea of dust and wind that never asked permission before taking what it wanted. Grass lay brittle under the sun, bleached pale as old bones. Somewhere beyond the horizon, thunder rolled. But no rain followed, just the promise of hardship. Men learned early out here that hope was a dangerous thing. Ethan Cole had learned that lesson better than most. His ranch sat alone at the edge of Apache land, a weather-beaten spread of timber and stone, crouched against the endless frontier. Fence posts leaned like tired men. The barn door groaned whenever the wind pushed through, and the house, if it could be called that, bore scars from old storms and older fights. Ethan had built it himself, plank by plank, after the war and the losses that followed. He lived alone by choice, not because women hadn't come. They had, widows from nearby settlements, ranch daughters with cautious smiles, even one schoolteacher from Santa Cruz who stayed a month longer than she should have. Every one of them had offered something, company, warmth, a future. And every one of them had left with the same quiet disappointment. Ethan always said the same thing. "I ain't looking for a wife." He said it without cruelty, without bitterness, just fact. Out here, a man could survive alone. Sometimes that was the only way he could survive at all. That morning, Ethan rode fence before the sun fully cleared the hills. His horse, Dust, moved steady beneath him, hooves thudding soft against dry earth. Coyotes had been bold lately. So had men. Tracks near the creek suggested neither kind was passing through by accident. Ethan dismounted, crouching near a broken fence rail. The marks in the dirt weren't animal. Boot heels, several, heavy. Trouble had a way of finding lonely places. He replaced the rail, hammering it back into place, when Dust snorted sharply. Ethan's hand went to the revolver at his hip. Not fast, not slow. Just ready. That's when he saw her. She stood beyond the fence line, half-shadowed by mesquite trees. A woman, Apache. Her dark hair was braided tight, streaked with gray. She wore a simple buckskin dress, worn but clean, and carried no weapon that Ethan could see. Still, her posture spoke of strength learned through necessity. She didn't flinch when he turned toward her. Didn't bow her head either. "You're far from your people," Ethan said. "So are you," she replied. Her English was slow, careful, but strong. Ethan studied her the way the land had taught him to study everything, not looking for beauty, though it was there in a quiet, weathered way. He looked for danger, for need for lies. He found none. "My name is Nalin," she said. "I was told this land belongs to a man who keeps to himself." "That's true," Ethan answered. "I was also told," she continued, "that he does not turn away someone in need." That made him pause. "Who told you that?" "A man who owed his life to you. 2 winters ago. He said you pulled him from a ravine." Ethan remembered. He hadn't expected the story to travel. Nalin stepped closer to the fence, stopping just short of it. "I am a widow. My husband was killed last spring, raiders. Not your people." "Not mine?" Ethan's jaw tightened. Death was a common language on the frontier. "I have no camp now," she said. "No family close enough to reach before winter." Ethan leaned against the post. "I can spare some food, maybe directions." She shook her head. "I did not come for charity." The wind picked up, rattling dry leaves along the ground. Somewhere far off, a hawk cried. She met his eyes fully now. "I came to ask a question." Ethan waited. Her voice was calm when she said it. Calm enough to be dangerous. "You want a wife? Or just shelter?" The words struck harder than a fist. Ethan laughed once, short, sharp. "You don't know what you're asking." "I know exactly what I'm asking." He studied her again. There was no desperation in her face, no pleading, just resolve. A woman who had buried her dead and kept walking. "I don't take wives," Ethan said. "I didn't say I wanted to be taken." Silence stretched between them, thick as the heat. Finally, Ethan exhaled. "You can stay the night, shelter, that's all." Nalin nodded, as if she'd expected nothing more, and maybe something else entirely. That night the ranch felt different. The fire burned brighter. The shadows moved in unfamiliar ways. Nalin ate little, spoke less, but her presence filled the space without asking permission. She slept near the hearth, knife close at hand. Ethan lay awake long after the fire died, staring at the ceiling. He told himself it was just another night. He was wrong. Before dawn, the dogs began to bark. Then came the sound of horses. Ethan reached for his rifle as boots hit the dirt outside. Men's voices rough-armed, and one of them laughed. The knock never came. Out here, men with bad intentions didn't knock. The dogs barking turned savage as shadows moved beyond the corral. Horses stamped and snorted, leather creaked, and a low whistle cut through the dark like a blade. Ethan slid from his bedroll and lifted his rifle, the wood familiar in his hands, comforting as an old scar. Nalin was already awake. She rose without a sound, her knife in hand, eyes sharp and focused. There was no fear in her face, only recognition. "They followed me," she said quietly. Ethan didn't look at her. He peered through the window slit instead. "How many?" "5, maybe 6. That was enough. Outside, a voice called out, lazy and cruel. "Cole, we know you're in there!" Ethan recognized the tone before the face. Men who thought the world owed them something always sounded the same. "What do you want?" Ethan shouted back. A laugh answered him. "That Apache woman you're hiding. She belongs to us." Ethan's grip tightened on the rifle. "You're mistaken." Another voice cut in, closer now. "Her husband owed money. Blood debt don't die with the man." Nalin's jaw clenched, but she said nothing. Ethan stepped onto the porch, lantern light spilling over his boots. The men sat their horses easy, guns visible, confidence heavy on their shoulders. At their center was a thick-necked man with a scar splitting his upper lip. "Evening, Cole," Scarlip said. "We'll take the woman and be on our way." "You're on my land," Ethan replied. "That makes you trespassers," Scarlip smiled. "And that makes you outnumbered." The air felt tight, electric. One wrong breath and the night would explode. Ethan glanced back once, just once, at Nalin standing in the doorway behind him. Then he raised his rifle. The shot cracked the silence like thunder. Scarlip's hat flew clean off his head, spinning into the dust. His smile vanished. "Next one won't miss," Ethan said evenly. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Scarlip spat into the dirt. "This ain't over." They backed away slow, eyes full of promise. When they finally turned their horses, the dust they kicked up lingered like a threat. The dogs quieted. The night breathed again. Ethan lowered the rifle. Nalin exhaled. "They will come back." "I know. You could have turned me away." Ethan leaned the rifle against the wall. "Shelter ain't free anymore, it seems." She studied him. "Then why did you choose to pay?" He didn't answer. The next days were heavy with preparation. Ethan doubled the watch, moved the cattle closer, loaded every weapon he owned. Word traveled fast in frontier country, and not all of it traveled on mouths. Sometimes it came on horseback with a gun. Nalin worked beside him without being asked. She mended tack, cooked, even rode. Fence, with a steady confidence that surprised Ethan. She didn't try to soften him, didn't press him with questions. Her presence was quiet but constant. At night they spoke more. About survival. About loss. "My husband believed peace was possible," Nalin said one evening, staring into the fire. "Believed bridges could be built." "And?" "He died believing it." Ethan nodded slowly. "Belief can get a man killed out here, or keep him human," she replied. Her words stayed with him. On the third night, shots rang out near the south pasture. Ethan and Nalin rode hard, moonlight flashing off dust and sweat. They found one of the fence lines cut. Cattle spooked, and a body lying in the grass. One of Scarlip's men. Dead. A warning, or an invitation. Ethan felt the noose tightening. Whoever was pulling the strings wanted blood, and didn't care whose. Back at the ranch, Ethan finally said the words he'd been avoiding. "You ain't safe here." Nalin met his gaze. "Neither are you." He looked at her then, not as a guest, not as a burden, but as a woman who had chosen to stand instead of run. "You asked me a question," he said quietly. "About wife or shelter." She waited. "I still don't know the answer." She nodded. "Neither do I." But the distance between them felt smaller now, dangerous, real. And somewhere beyond the hills, men were saddling up.